internet. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, it's another beautiful day here in North Carolina. You know, about a week ago, a friend of mine asked, "How's come you're doing this channel?" And I had to kind of think about it a little bit. And so I thought maybe it'd be interesting to you guys out there to know the reason why we're doing this channel. And I guess to really understand what we're doing here, you have to have a little bit of history on me. See, for an awful lot of years, I cowboyed and rode horses for a living. And you know, a funny thing, horses, they like to eat 7 days a week. So that meant, well, I worked 7 days a week. And riding them was just no big deal. I mean, I was just riding the horses. So, you know, I kind of got into a mindset after about 20 some years of doing that of you just kind of work 7 days a week. I guess it was about 10 or 15 years ago I decided, you know, you're going to keep getting older and older, which means you're going to get a little slower, and the ground's going to get a little further away. So maybe it was time to make a change. So the change we come up with was we started making a product for events, primarily horse shows, but all kinds of different events. We manufacture products for them. So we hung our shingle out on that and went right to work. The first few years, I continued riding horses and doing this business as well, and we put on, probably one of the larger horse shows here in North Carolina, so I had a good customer right here in myself, and that got us pretty popular. Of course, Michelle, she has a real knack for marketing, and that made us real popular. And pretty soon, we were shipping our products to international. We was getting international orders. I think we was shipping them to 4 different countries, and right now we're at about 46 different states in the United States. We set up our shop here on our farm, and well, that didn't last too long before we had to expand it pretty good. Hire people and bring them on in here, and well, pretty soon I was just supervising quite a few other people going ahead and working, and to me it was just kind of a give-in. Just working on it 7 days a week. But after a while, that started to work on me pretty hard. Started to wear me out. I really needed a break from what I was doing. Couldn't keep going 7 days a week on this. And the way that I decided that I could get myself out of the shop was I got a little bit more serious about classical guitar. I'd been playing for several years, but I took it a little more serious at this point. And we were starting to do quite a bit of traveling around at that time. And so when we would get to the hotels and things like that, well, in the morning when people were coming down for breakfast, well, I'd just check with the staff and I'd sit down there and play classical guitar, and folks would sit around, and boy, they really enjoyed that. And I got to tell you, I enjoyed giving them something that, you know, they liked. So that was working out pretty well. I was really improving and starting to study people and see what it is that they liked so that I could go ahead and supply that for them. Well, then as we all know, a few years back, COVID hit, and the idea of traveling went straight out the window real quick. But not only that, we had a relatively young business that was doing very well, but it supplied products for events, and virtually every event in the entire world was canceled. We wasn't sure what was going to happen then. Well, as it turned out, we were busier than we had ever been. So, not knowing what the future held, I jumped right back into that 7 days a week and really pushing it through. After not too long of a period of time, it started looking like the business was on pretty stable grounds, even though everything that was going on around us, we had worked pretty hard to figure it out, and I think we done a pretty fair job of doing it. then I needed something else to get me out of there, because the guitar work, while I still enjoyed it, you know, there was no end game to it. There was nobody to hear it. And so I'm not going to say I ever lost interest in it, but the real drive to keep improving, that sort of went away when all the traveling and all the socializing went away. Well, enter the e-bikes. It was my lovely bride that suggested, you know, we should get some bikes. That's something for us to do. We don't have to get around a lot of people in order to do that, and let's go ahead and get a few e-bikes. She was kind of fired up about it, and so I said, you know, let's go ahead and let's give that a whirl. Let's give that a whirl. Now, a long time back in my youth, I used to race off-road motorcycles, and I was pretty serious about it. And I got to tell you, the first time I stepped on that bike and started riding it around, especially when I took it onto some single-track trails, boy, did that bring that that excitement back. It was something that really felt good. Even though it wasn't a motorcycle, it was a bicycle, I was really thrilled with what I was doing. So I ended up making that bike personalized for myself. Even ended up getting another e-bike to go along with it. This was a mid-drive bike. It was a do-it-yourself kit built, and got that going. And I'll tell you, it was a great thing to pull me out of work. Only problem was, it gets so doggone hot around here through the summer. To do anything like this in the afternoon is just about impossible. And so, and of course, then if you get, you know, afternoon showers, well, it's raining, so let me jump back into the shop and get some work going. And so I needed something more than something just outside. Well, once again, enter that lovely bride of mine, you know, well over 30 years later, and she still just amazes me. She says, why don't you start a blog or a YouTube channel or something like that? You know, when you was playing the guitar, you always told me what you really like is that other people were enjoying it. You know, maybe other people would enjoy what you're doing with these e-bikes as well. Did you ever think of that? She says, you'll have some work to do inside, so you're out of the heat or the rain, and it's going to maybe give somebody else a little bit of enjoyment. And she had even brought up, you know, back when we were doing the clinics with the horses, how much I liked when people was getting it there. And I just kind of sat there looking at her like, where do you come up with this stuff? You're absolutely brilliant. Well, along about then, the reality set in. I said, you know, I don't know nothing about photography or videos or anything like that. You know, my dad was a phenomenal photographer, and but he started that later in life when I was already an adult and moved out, so I didn't pick up anything from that. And quite frankly, I probably wouldn't have been smart enough to anyway, because he was a fabulous guitar player too, and I never picked up that until I was an adult and out on my own. And boy, he probably falls within the top 10 or 20 guitarists I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard the greatest from Segovia to John Williams to Chet Atkins and Paco de Luca. And of course, Mom, she could hold her own against anybody on a bass guitar. So, you know, there was a lot of musical experience right there, even back when I was a child. Just never took full advantage of it. But anyway, back to the e-biking here. You know, I thought most of the suggestions that Michelle's made over the last several decades have always been good ones. So I thought maybe, you know, this is something that I need to take a little closer look at. And that's kind of where we're at right now. You know, we learned how to use a camera a little bit, and we're learning as we go along and learning how to use the editing software and that kind of thing. And we're just a work in progress on this. We're still looking, you know, I kind of feel like I'm looking over to folks that are sitting around watching me play guitar and trying to decide, okay, do they want to hear something more modern or do they want to hear something more classical? Because I always wanted to put something out there that, you know, people wanted to hear. And we're doing the same thing right here. We're trying to figure it out. You know, what is it that the internet wants to see? And so things will change around from here and there, and we're just going to keep striving to make things better and better and better. And we're going to continue to evaluate what it is you guys are wanting to see. Of course, you can put it down there in the comments and let us know directly, and then we check over and see how many people are watching different videos and that type of thing. That's what we go off of. But the one thing you can be sure of is we're not going to just rest on our laurels around here and just toss something out. We're always going to be striving to make it better. There's no question about that. You know, back in my horse days, there was a fellow by the name of Ray Hunt, probably the greatest horseman ever lived. And he used to always say, you know, I'll never be perfect, but I'll never settle for anything less. And when he told me that, boy, that was something I really, really remembered. And we're looking at this the same way. We know we're never going to hit it perfect, but we're never going to settle for less than perfection. So guys, if this is a journey you'd like to join us on, well, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, let your friends know about it, and join us on this ride. So with that said, I can only tell you until next time, Internet, stay safe, God bless, and keep them wheels turning. Once again, we're out.